In Part 8, we leave Queenstown behind and make our way to Arrowtown to see some old Chinese miners' huts used during the gold rush days. Then we stop at Crown Range Summit to admire the views from high up. Next, we stop at the famous Cardrona Bra Fence, and finally, we arrive in Wanaka for our overnight stay. The following day, we drive past Lake Hawea and stop to see several waterfalls before arriving in Franz Josef for a 2-night stay. There, we have a go at working on some gemstones. Our first stop of the day was in Arrowtown to see the miners' huts. This is Bush Creek that empties into the Arrow River nearby. These are some of the miserable, cramped quarters that the poor Chinese miners had to live in while working the gold mines of this area. Gold was discovered in the Arrow River in the mid-1800s, and a mining town soon sprang up around here. Chinese miners arrived around 1870 and were forced to live in these small huts on the banks of Bush Creek. Some of these huts didn't even have fireplaces to keep them warm in winter, and they must have been absolutely miserable places to live. As you can see, they weren't sealed against the winds either, so even with a fireplace, they couldn't have been very warm during winter months. Leaving Arrowtown behind, we quickly gained elevation to get to the Crown Summit viewing area to get some spectacular views from high up. There in the distance, you can see Queenstown and a part of Lake Wanaka. From this vantage point, you can also see the runway at Queenstown Airport. Someone has painted several international flags on corrugated sheets and hung them up here. Our next stop was quite unique. It was the famous Cardrona Bra Fence. Yes, you heard me right, the Bra Fence. The story goes that the Cardrona distillery owner's wife was being treated for breast cancer, and people left messages of support and hope for her on this fence. At some point, someone left a bra to show her support for her. Since then, hundreds of people have left their own bras to show support for her too, and now this has become a famous tourist spot. We arrived in Wanaka late in the afternoon, and the girls and I took a walk around the lake to see the famous willow tree growing out of the lake. This is the famous Wanaka willow tree growing right out of the water. This is a famous tourist spot, even though the tree has been damaged by stupid tourists and also by deliberate vandalism. It's a famous place for Instagram selfies. The next morning, leaving Lake Wanaka behind, we drive past Lake Hawea on our way to Franz Josef. There you can see some unnamed islands in Lake Hawea. We continue our journey to Franz Josef for a 2-night stay, and along the way we made a quick stop to see the Fantail Falls, which are located in Mount Aspiring National Park. The falls are 75 feet in height and drop into the Haast River. You can see the beautiful clear turquoise waters of Haast River. Our next stop was the Gates of Haast waterfalls, located right under the Callender Hamilton Bridge. This is actually a gorge with a series of small waterfalls. Here are some close-ups of the different segments of the falls. This is a view looking downstream as the river evens out after the multiple falls. There appears to be a thick concrete foundation or pad here which has long since broken up and disintegrated. Looking upstream, you can see the lush greenery all around and some low clouds in the distance. Next, we make our way to Thunder Creek Falls. These falls are about 92 feet high. The waterfall is the outlet of Thunder Creek, which was created by erosion caused by the former Haast Glacier and the current Haast River. We finally arrived in Franz Josef for a 2-night stay. There's lots to do here, including a helicopter ride to the Franz Josef Glacier to walk around, and skydiving over the Fox Glacier. Unfortunately, this is what we experienced for 2 days. Heavy rains, low clouds, and unsettled, turbulent atmospheric conditions. As such, all glacier and skydiving flights were cancelled for the duration of our stay in Franz Josef. There were some short respites in between the rains, and I made time to go to the wildlife center to see the Kiwis. But once again, unfortunately, no photography or videography is allowed inside the Kiwi viewing areas. Later in the afternoon, we visited a jadestone workshop run by Janie, who helped us work some small stones. Here you can see Janie helping us select a nice stone to work with. In the stone cutting area, everyone is required to wear earmuffs and safety glasses. After cutting comes the polishing, and it's all done by hand using 3 different grades of sandpaper. Janie helped each of us by drilling a hole in our stones for hanging, and she even put string loops in them. This is my stone when it was finished, complete with loop, and you can see the translucent qualities of the stone when it's held in front of a light.